I don't think it's a big secret that I'm not a huge fan of the animated What If show, but the latest trailer has given me one of the greatest gifts it possibly could. The gift of more Justin Hammer. But while Sam Rockwell might have been the inarguably greatest part of an arguably not great Iron Man sequel, comics fans probably aren't holding their breath for any kind of synergy-related Justin Hammer event to celebrate his return, because where the comics are concerned, he's been dead for over 20 years. Yes, Justin Hammer has not been the most recurring foe of Iron Man's, but when he surfaces, he tends to leave an impression. Not the least of which because, while he isn't an engineering genius, something he has in common with his movie counterpart, he's very savvy when it comes to finance and business. Case in point, Hammer's the one responsible for the Armor Wars storyline, in which the secrets of Iron Man's technology was stolen and distributed to a bunch of supercriminals like Beetle, Mauler, Crimson Dynamo, and Stiltman, who I still need to see in Daredevil at some point. Even though Hammer was ultimately imprisoned for his actions, the paranoia and guilt Tony felt at his Iron Man tech falling into the wrong hands and his at-all-costs mentality towards setting things right caused some real friction between him and his allies, especially S.H.I.E.L.D. and Captain America. And hey, there just so happens to be an Armor Wars movie coming up. Eventually. Probably. But I doubt this is going to be too heavily connected since What If is explicitly not in the main MCU timeline. Despite having been blasted into the cold vacuum of space by Iron Man and rapidly freezing to death all the way back in 2000, Hammer's villainous legacy has lived on in his daughter Justine, at least until she died in 2012. Unlike her dad, Justine was willing to get more hands-on in supercriming and use the alias of Crimson Cowl. Fun fact, initially that name was used by Ultron, who was hypnotizing Jarvis to take up the mantle instead. He's human in the comics. As the Crimson Cowl, she assembled her own iteration of the Masters of Evil, planning a weather control extortion scheme, but was thwarted by the newest, at the time at least, Citizen V, which, who knows, maybe when we get closer to Thunderbolts. Anyway, here's where things get really fun. Justine has a daughter of her own, Sasha Hammer, and Sasha's dad is the Mandarin, Iron Man's arguable and decently problematic archenemy. And for bonus legacy points, Sasha, known as Detroit Steel, apparently also a legacy title, but not one that I'm gonna pretend I know anything about. Yet. Sasha's also dating Ezekiel Stane, son of former Ironmonger Obadiah Stane. This complex web of social entanglements would prove to be to Justine's detriment, however, as the Mandarin's abuse of Ezekiel prompted Sasha to kill Justine in revenge. Wow, superhero comics really are just pro wrestling meets soap operas from a certain vantage point, huh? Unlike her mother and grandfather, Sasha's still running around somewhere in comic limbo, but if her family's legacy is anything to go off of, I wouldn't be surprised to find out her days are numbered.